Hey everyone, welcome to the Vintage Dish. My studio is a hot mess, but the rest of my house looks amazing. So, as you guys know, I took off last week and didn't plan on taking off the Vintage Dish, but my guest had to cancel, so I just went ahead and took the opportunity to be able to focus more time on getting my house in order and taking care of some other personal and family obligations. But yeah, I didn't get to cleaning up my studio yet, but that's next on the list. By the end of this week, I expect it will be all in order. Hey, Aunt June. Hey, Diane. Oh my gosh, you were such an important part of our childhood. Hi, Gia. Hi, Lauren. Hey, Sarah. So, how are you guys doing? How was your week last week? How is your week going today? I mean, how was Monday? I guess is what I'm saying. Anyway, I'm super excited to introduce you guys to my cousin, who is an amazing artist and toy collector. And I guess we kind of got started together. I forgot that I was supposed to bring some of my own toys today. Oh well, I'll have to have him back. We were going to talk about He-Man, but I forgot to find my He-Man figure. I had him out when I was doing kids Zooms last year, and now he's not in my case anymore. Hey, Shadia. Hey, Liz. Hey, Sherry. Thank you guys so much for joining us and tuning in. Super excited to be back with you guys today. And we had some fun sales last week. I did my little mashup in case you guys missed it. I'll show her to you. Let's see if I can reach her without breaking my neck. Come here, little girl. Here we go. Boom. This was my little Rumple bunny rabbit mashup where I put the pose doll head on the bunny's body because Bunny lost his head and she got adopted by Rachel. But I'm super excited about her. And then Bunny is back there. I'm sure you guys saw him because I posted him on my Instagram. Aw, thank you. I missed you guys too, but I got so much accomplished. Just like that spring cleaning time where we're just getting everything back in order, resetting, making way for the new energy. So anyway, guys, let's get started. I'm going to bring my cousin Alan on screen. Alan, give me a thumbs up when you're ready. He is backstage and he is ready. So here we go.
Hello.
Hello.
How we doing?
Doing good. How about you?
I'm doing fine. I heard you say that your workspace is a mess, but your house looks nice, so that's good.
I
My
know
workspace is a mess, but the rest of my house is a mess. So at least I'm staying consistent.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
true.
So
Well, I was where you were before last week. Yeah. So
I saw that you had Batgirl on your shirt, and I have Batman on my shirt.
of
So we
course.
kind of accidentally dressed to match. I promise any of you watching that out there, we did not plan that. That was spontaneous.
Yeah. Well, you know.
Wearing any kind of superheroes on a shirt though, like you got a good chance of matching me anyway. So
I mean, if you want to give it away, yeah. I mean, I wore it for you, so
and that's like 80s Supergirl there with the headband where she was all
yeah.
Olivia Newton-Johned out.
Right.
Yeah. So that was the 80s. So it was like, yeah, we'll make her look like this and then she'll look hip and modern and that'll last forever. That'll be the
Timeless.
trend. But hey, it's still on t-shirts that are being made today, so I guess they weren't completely wrong about that, were they?
No, it worked. Aunt
So,
June is here in the house.
hello, Aunt June. I hope you're doing well. So,
So, so yeah, Alan and we grew up together at Grandmama and Granddaddy's house. We spent so much time together. We were almost like siblings. He's like my brother from another mother,
yep.
and we had so much fun together. Just enjoying that amazing magical time that was the 80s for kids, late 70s, early 80s childhood. It was amazing.
You know,
Scary.
I kind of feel like maybe everybody feels that way about their childhood, but yeah, there we go. See, who doesn't? She's great. I kind of feel like everybody kind of feels like their childhood was like the best time to be a kid. At least I would hope they would. But I think we're correct.
Yeah, right. We had all the best toys, all the best cartoons, all the best B movies.
I kind of feel like we were like exactly the right age to enjoy the original Star Wars trilogy.
Yes.
And kids these days like they can watch Star Wars and enjoy it, but it wouldn't be the same as like, you know, when we were watching it growing up and you had to wait 3 years between movies. So
Yeah.
I'm going to try to recenter this laptop a little bit because I feel like I'm off center, and I centered it so that
it's because I added myself.
Yeah. I wasn't taking that into account.
Yeah.
So yeah, like but it I guess the closest things kids like not now, but like if you're somebody in your 20s, the closest thing I can think of would be like Harry Potter, where like you had to wait a year in between all those books, and I think like a couple of years for like the later ones. But yeah, it's like you don't know what it was like to come out of The Empire Strikes Back and be like, is Darth Vader really Luke's father? What's going to happen to Han Solo? He's still sucking that carbonite, and you got to wait 3 years.
It was so traumatic and so shocking and so magical all at the same time.
I remember playing like with the action figures and like just coming up with my own solutions to stuff where like, you know, they get Han Solo out of that carbonite and have other adventures after that. Because I don't know what's going to happen next. So I just kind of, you know, would do my own thing and make up my own stories. And I think that was kind of the magic of the action figures and why Star Wars meant a lot to us when we were kids is that, you know, it was like we were part of the story too, and we made up our own. I think part of the reason Boba Fett is such a popular character has a lot more to do with how kids played with the action figure than anything he did in the movies. Because if you watch him in the movies, he's a really minor character who dies a really lame death, and he's not really that cool.
Yeah, like why did we fixate on him so much? And
because the action figure was awesome.
I mean, the colors, I guess the colors were cool.
Yeah,
I don't know.
You got to understand that, like, I think most people that don't understand the hype of Boba Fett and why it was real is we had the action figure in 1979, and that was like a whole year before the movie came out. The only thing that Boba Fett was in any media between when the figure came out and when the movie came out is I think he would have been in the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Okay.
In the animated
that horrible holiday special.
And I think most people probably just blocked the whole thing out of their minds. Like, I like the animated part. I thought that was pretty good, but the rest of it is just like, I don't know what they were thinking with
that thing. Didn't Princess Leia have a solo singing part or something?
Yeah, that was part of her contract for agreeing to appear in that is that she wanted to sing a song. And part of Mark Hamill's contract for appearing in that is he did not want to sing a song. So that's true. And
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, Boba Fett, like I feel like I wanted him to be Princess Leia's love interest. Is that correct? Memory?
When we were kids, and I don't just mean you and me, but I mean like our entire generation, having that Boba Fett action figure, like before the movie came out, you just kind of made up your own adventures with him, and he's such a cool figure. He looks awesome, and you want him to be that cool of a guy. You want Princess Leia to, like, you know, be drawn to him in an inexplicable sort of way, you know, even though he's a bad guy, but there's just something about him that's intriguing.
Yeah,
maybe that's part of it. I don't know, but
and now we have.
I can fix him. I can fix Boba Fett.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's not get into that about my life. But anyway. Yeah, maybe that's why I was drawn to him. But yeah, so we have Book of Boba Fett now, and I have to, be honest and say that I was not very excited about his face in real life. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that wasn't what I had pictured for him, but he grew on me as the series went on.
I think
And
I think part of people's problem with the Book of Boba Fett is you have a character that originally was such a mysterious character, and that was kind of part of the appeal. And it's like nothing against Tamura Morrison, but I doubt many people imagined that that was what Boba Fett looked like underneath the helmet, because
yeah,
I think everybody probably had their own idea as to what if Boba Fett's a black guy? What if he's Asian? You don't know. Like he could look like anything. He could be like
he
a
needed to have
green
long
skin
hair,
with
not no
skills, and
hair.
he might not even be human under that. He might be like Squid Head or something.
Right, right. Well,
So
anyway, let's find out enough about Boba Fett. Let's talk about you. So I wanted to bring my cousin on because he fits into the whole vintage community on a toy level and into my doll inclusive community on a toy and artistic level. So Alan collects many things, vintage toys and current toys, and and he also does custom action figures, and he's an amazing illustrator, and he's also very funny. I always wanted him to be on Saturday Night Live when we were growing up. I'm like, you need to be on Saturday Night Live. Like, he was always doing the impersonations, and we always did skits and spoofs of everything. We made fun of everything. We made little cassette tapes of our own skits, and it was fun.
yeah,
He had me laughing so hard I would pee my pants or crawl to the bathroom trying not to pee my pants. So, hey, Zoe. So, anyway, let's go all the way back to the beginning and tell us who is Alan Belk? How did you get interested in toys? Tell us your passions. Tell us all about yourself.
Jeez, where do I even get started? So, like, I don't remember a time when I wasn't into toys.
Right.
Like, I had, the original Mego action figures of the superheroes. I had, both the 8-inch ones and the 12-inch ones. I think probably my first favorite toy was the 12-inch Superman figure that Mego made that was based on the movie. And they did like a couple of lines based on the movie. They did 12-inch figures, and they did 3 3/4 inch figures, like the old Star Wars size. And they didn't actually have the rights to the movie. They only had the rights to the comic book characters, but somehow had the license to the actors likenesses. So you'd have like this weird sort of mashup action figure where it's Jor-El, but it's like the movie head where it looks like Marlon Brando, but the outfit is straight out of the comic book where it's the green Flash Gordon looking outfit with the, yellow at the shoulders, and it was strange. He had like Lex Luthor looked like Gene Hackman, but he looked like what Kurt Swan drew him to look like in the comic books with like his purple and green spandex number that I'm sure Gene Hackman would have just absolutely refused to even consider wearing because he was a serious actor. But yeah, those are the first figures I remember. But that 12-inch Superman figure was probably my first favorite toy. And Star Wars was a big thing for me. I think I was aware of the Star Wars toys before I was aware of the movies. So that was kind of my obsession for pretty much from about the time that I saw Empire Strikes Back to about the time that I saw Return of the Jedi. If Star Wars wasn't my favorite toy at the time, it was still would have been like in my top 3 of whatever my favorite toys were. And then I think, by the time that I was in elementary school and, the other toy companies had kind of started to crack the code and figure out the formula of Star Wars and how it had this very strong good versus evil dynamic to it, and it had a very strong mythology to it. And that was when you started to see a lot of the toy lines, as far as action figures go, like Masters of the Universe and GI Joe, and they all had like this really strong good versus evil component. Like you ask anybody to name their toy characters, and there's the Autobots and the Decepticons. There's the Thundercats and I don't know, whatever you call Mumra's henchmen or whatever. It's like I think they were mutants or something like that. I don't remember. But there was Mask and there was Venom, and it's like all these different sort of factions that would face off against each other. All the 80s action figures always had a good guy team and a bad guy team. So like that was something that kind of built on the imaginations, and sometimes the bad guys would be just as popular as the good guys, if not more popular. Like Skeletor, according to Lou Scheimer, who created the animated series of He-Man, Skeletor was like the most popular character among kids. And I think it was because, he was kind of scary and he was kind of funny, and, he was just like everything a kid would want a villain to be. So Skeletor was probably my favorite in the He-Man characters anyway. And it's like, you root for He-Man because he's the good guy, and you want Skeletor, exactly. You want Skeletor to lose. You don't want Skeletor to win, because then he's going to conquer the entire universe. But at the same time, it's like, you kind of relate to that in a weird sort of way. Like, because we all try to do something, and we all kind of fail occasionally. But Skeletor would just, try to get into Castle Grayskull and learn its secrets, and He-Man would defeat him every single time. And every single time he would get up and dust himself off and be like, well, now I've got a new scheme to get into Castle Grayskull, and I will conquer the universe. Every single time. Like, there was never an episode where Skeletor was just, like, lying in bed being like, I don't even feel like getting up today. I just know He-Man's going to defeat me again. What's even the point? What are you moaning about, Panther? There's plenty of food in that bowl. You've just eaten out of the middle of the bowl. There's plenty of food around the edges of it. Just eat the food around the edges of it, Panther. Fine, I'll give you more food.
Alan lives with cats now, so he has a whole new understanding.
Yeah. Struggle is real. So yeah, but I do have something a little special today, because this got delivered yesterday and I didn't really have a chance to do anything of it. And I actually have a Skeletor action figure.
Oh my gosh.
I haven't opened. So I kind of thought it might be fun to do a little, like, if anybody's interested in what my channel is all about, is basically I get these action figures and I open them up and I talk about them. And this is one I already did a video of. I mainly needed it for custom parts, and I'll show you what I was doing with the custom later. But I thought if it's okay with you, I might open up and talk about them a little bit.
Yeah, so you guys, Alan has his own YouTube channel where he does unboxing videos for action figures. And what is the name of your channel?
It's just Alan Belk.
So
I wasn't
anyway, the link,
creative. I just kind of, what it is what it is. What you see is what you get.
You are the channel. So it's here in the video description.
Sitting on a couch talking about stuff. So if you're seeing me sitting on this couch talking about stuff, and you're like, I want more of that, that's a good place to get more of that. So,
and even if you don't want more of it, just follow his channel so that we can get him monetized. We need to get him to 1,000 subscribers, and
I'm at like 96 right now. I've been hovering around like the 90s for a minute. So as you can see, this is one I got off of Amazon, and it's one that, thanks to you, this product has a second life. So it was just put that in a little trash can over there that I really need to empty out. So you can see it's kind of battered and banged up, and this must be one that was like knocking around their warehouse a while. It's actually kind of opened at the bottom, but I don't care because I'm going to open it anyway. So I usually I like to get the cheaper ones on Amazon, because like a lot of people that collect these like to keep them in the package, and they the first bendable Barb, I remember those. Yeah. She only dated 12-inch G.I. Joe, no Ken. There's a joke in there somewhere, but I'm not going to tell it because I think it might be too blue for the room. So, but you can Google it. So it's one of my favorite toy jokes. Anyway, I tend to try to get the beat up ones, because like that way it's one less beat up one that the collectors have to deal with. And I'm just gonna open it anyway, so who cares? But yeah, this is Skeletor from the Masters of the Universe Origins line, which is the current line that's out right now. And as you can see, they put a lot of work into recreating the look of the vintage figures. And do I even have vintage Skeletor, or it's handy? Because I brought this toy box in here that's got a lot of my vintage He-Man figures in it. Because you mentioned you wanted to talk about some vintage stuff.
Yeah.
So we can get into that later if you want. But I don't know if Skeletor's in a place where he's easy to get to right now, because there's just so much in this box. But I keep all my vintage figures in this box. It is kind of nostalgic to have to dig through there and find stuff. And I'm finding like every character but the original Skeletor. So we're just going to skip past that. I keep him in a place of honor here. This is, and you can see this whenever you watch my videos. This is where I keep some of my favorite toys. And that one is the original G.I. Joe Green Beret. That one is a Super 7 She-Ra that's made to fit in with vintage Masters of the Universe. So you don't have to brush her hair. You don't have to worry about her hair getting all tangled.
I want to brush her hair. Gosh darn it.
Well, you've got the original She-Ra to brush her hair.
I think that's the kind that's for boys.
Yeah, this is for boys. It's made to fit in with He-Man. So, and then this is a more modern figure. That's a Todd McFarlane Batman figure in blue and gray, like the kind of Batman I like best. That's a Sideshow Toys Dracula right there. And Sideshow toys are really expensive now, but back when they made those were kind of affordable to me. And that Superman bursting through the wall is a repop of an 80s remake of a 1960s model kit, and they updated his head so it looked like the Superpowers action figure. But that was a gift from a friend of mine, Chuck Porterfield. He got that for me 1 year, and that also happened to be the year that COVID became a thing. So that was a nice hobby to have while I sat around the house, because I couldn't go out and do anything. And it turned out beautifully. And then you can see just the legs of it. I'll maybe tilt it up, you see a little better. That's a huge Henry Cavill Superman action figure that's in a black outfit. Oh, and then there's some Batman figures up there. You can see Batgirl, Harley Quinn, Joker. I just got all kinds of stuff all over the place. Let me see if I can get it back down where now I have to arrange this all over again. And I got a lot of stuff on my couch because I got a lot of stuff I'm working on. So anyway, so yeah, this is Master Universe Origins. They put a lot of work into making it look like the vintage toy with the vintage style packaging, with the exploding rocks in the background and everything. And basically, this is one where like it's pretty much looks like, if you just look at it, like the original figure. But if you look closely, you can tell that there's like a lot of joints and stuff to it. So they've made it a lot more articulated than the old ones, where like the old ones, you could pretty much move their arms up and down, and their legs were on that kind of big rubber band. And there's the accessories, which is in a little bag. I like to complain about the accessories being in the little bag, and I like to complain about the rubber bands, because the rubber bands drive me nuts. He's held into the package with these rubber bands. If you remember the toys from the 80s, they were just kind of like in one shell that was on the card. It didn't have this back part of the shell at all. But that's just
when
how
you just showed his staff, I had some kind of memory about it being chewed up.
Yeah. Yeah, like I think my dog, I had a puppy at the time. I think he chewed up the end of Skeletor's staff.
Okay.
And it was all curled up. Chewed the little ball off the end of it. So, and like, I didn't really understand what Skeletor's staff was at the time. Like, I didn't get it. So I was kind of like, oh, well, whatever. He's got a sword. When you're like, God, how old was I at the time? Like 7 or something? Like, sword is good enough. You just want to do the sword. I wasn't really that into He-Man's axe either when I was younger. Now I think it's awesome, and I just always want to have him with the axe. But interestingly enough, He-Man was not originally designed to have a sword, neither was Skeletor. They were just going to have Skeletor's one weapon was going to be the Havoc staff, and He-Man's main weapon was going to be the axe. And it was actually the marketing people that came up with the idea of giving them swords that fit together and could be used as the key to Castle Grayskull.
And
A lot of
that
people
was
talk
so
about like,
awesome how they actually did fit together, you know?
yeah. And these, the way they've got them engineered now, they actually fit together better than the original swords. But this one doesn't even come with a half sword. This one actually comes with a whole power sword, which is interesting, in purple. So a lot of people who are only familiar with the cartoon might be surprised to learn that originally there were two halves of the sword that came together, and each of them had both. So, but yeah, there he is out of the package, and he looks pretty much exactly like the original one. They didn't do the face paint like quite as well as the original one. It's missing some stuff, but I think it's close enough. If you enjoyed playing with these with when you were a kid and you want to, what's worse, rubber bands or twist ties? I think the twist ties are the worst because those you have to twist off, and it's just really annoying. The rubber bands you can kind of cut off. Sometimes you can actually just kind of yank it out, like what I did. To me, what's the absolute worst to hold them into the package is they have these awful like rubber bands that have tabs on them that hold them into the figure, and it's really hard to get at them with like anything that I use to try to get at those to cut them. And oftentimes I just wind up breaking them out of frustration. But even that's difficult because you kind of yank on it, and I'm off center again. There we go. They're all bad. I don't like them at all. One of the things I like about how Hasbro packages their action figures these days is they usually don't use any kind of rubber bands or twist ties or anything. And the other bad thing about rubber bands, twist ties, all that kind of stuff is a lot of the modern action figure plastics are softer kind of plastics. So sometimes they can like actually sink into the plastic and make little marks in them. And that's really annoying. Now, there's a way to fix that, which is to dip it in some boiling water for like just like 30 seconds or hit it with a hair dryer. Like I have a hair dryer that I keep here just for when I have action figures that have stiff joints. And you can see this is just like a cheap, got it at the Goodwill for like $3. So you don't have to even spend a whole lot of money on it. But yeah, so I'll just, heat up the joints. I'll oftentimes in my own videos talk about how like, oh, well, this joint's really stiff, so I don't want to move it until I can hit it with a hair dryer. And I don't like to do that kind of thing like actually on the video because that can be really annoying. Like the sound of it to some people. And like, yeah, like to me, like I hate the sound of a vacuum cleaner. Like absolutely despise that sound. It's like nails on a chalkboard to me. But I don't want to scare anybody off who hates the sound of a hairdryer. So I figure if you can tolerate the sound of my voice, you could probably tolerate about anything. But some people are just kind of have certain sounds they hate. So I try to avoid that kind of stuff. Anyway, so these are interesting figures. One of the things that's cool about them, especially from like the point of view of customizing them, is they actually come apart, and they're supposed to come apart. So that's really cool. You can actually take off his head. You can take off his arms. You can take the waist off from the split them apart at the waist. I guess that's how you put that. The feet can come off at the boot, but that would be something that I would recommend you use a hairdryer and soften it up a little bit first because they're on there pretty solid. Technically, there's other parts you can pull off too. Like you could separate them at the elbow. Oh, and the hands, they're supposed to come off. But you could separate it at the elbows and the knees. But again, they're not really made to separate at the elbows or knees or here at the hips at this joint. You can separate that too. So I advise anybody who would want to try to do that, again, heat it up with a hairdryer first and soften it up that way. But kids can have a lot of fun with these toys by like mixing and matching the parts. And I remember I got from my nephew one Christmas, I got them a He-Man and a Skeletor. One got He-Man, the other one got Skeletor. And then they figured out they could. I didn't tell them. I let them figure it out on their own. But they figured out they could take them apart and switch the parts around. And then it was like a whole new way to play with these toys that, when we were kids, you remember the arms on the vintage figures, they do come off. They're not really designed to come off. Like, for example, this is the original. Yeah, there we go. This is the original Manny faces. And yeah, you can usually just pop their arms right off. And I'm going to be gentle with it because this is like a 40-year-old toy. I don't want to take a chance on breaking the plastic that's gotten a lot more brittle. But I remember when I would play with these a lot of times when I was a kid, like, He-Man would, hack somebody's arm off or something like that in a sword fight or whatever. And, you just pop it right back on. And since they're kind of magical characters, maybe like Skeletor just regenerates that arm or something, like a lizard. I don't know. It's possible. But yeah.
Well, I don't know what happened to this.
Oh, his foot's gone.
This was one of our original ones.
Yeah.
I feel like he wasn't mine. I don't remember ever having Merman myself, but
You didn't have Merman? Oh man.
I don't think I did. I think that maybe this was yours. I don't know.
Well, maybe.
Because the puppy might have gotten the foot too.
Yeah, he might have. I don't know. But I remember looking at the back of the package and thinking how cool Merman looked. Well, thank you. Thank you for the subscription, Zoe. I remember thinking Merman looked really cool on the back of the package, and then the toy wound up looking nothing like what he looked like on the back of the package. So I was a little disappointed, but I got over it pretty quick. So one thing that bugs me about the solid sword that this one comes with, because the first one came with the half sword. This is actually the second version, where they made the head look a little closer to the vintage style. The first one he was like yelling, and that was not what the original toy looked like, and people kind of complained about that. But look, now I'm at 100. Thank you all. So yeah, he can only hold it in this hand because this hand is open. But I remember when I was a kid, what I would do was I would kind of, since that one had like a hand guard on it, you could kind of wrap that around the open hand, and then he could hold both the sword and the staff at the same time. But unfortunately, this guy can't do that because he doesn't have a hand guard. But you got to choose one or the other. I kind of wish they had have gone that extra mile and given him an extra gripping hand over here, because like I said, the hands are interchangeable now. But I guess that was just a bridge too far, and they're probably trying to keep the figure as under cost as possible. I guess gotta get that profit margin in there. So the Mattel ain't a charity, kids. But yeah, so that's pretty much what I do on my channel. Is I'll open up these action figures and talk about them. And if you want to hear me talk more about this figure in particular, I got a whole video about it over on my channel, so you can check it out, and lots of other videos like it.
Is that the one that has like 7,000 views or something? The Skeletor one?
Yeah, I made a custom figure of Skeletor,
and that's that the one that got it all.
Yeah, that's the one that's got like something like 6,000 views. Like most of my videos will be like, like 15 people watched them, 30 people watched them. It's like I'm just jazzed anybody wants to watch my videos, so I ain't complaining. But but that one, for whatever reason, that one took off, and like everybody watches that one. And
well, it was custom, I guess that's why, because you do good work.
I've got that figure right here, and I've actually done some updates on them, because originally I just had the paint the way that the head was on there originally. This is from a Super 7 figure that broke. So, but I really liked the head, so I wanted to have it on a figure, and I'm like, well, they've got these Origins figures now. It'd probably fit on that just fine, and I kind of had to hollow it out a little bit with my Dremel and stick it on there. And it was supposed to look like what he looked like on the cartoon, but kind of a mashup with how he looked like on the cartoon and the toy. So it wasn't 100% either one. So I just made it look more like the toy with the paints. So you can see like how I had it where like the skull's green at the edge and then kind of slowly fades into the yellow, and gave him the kind of piercing red eyes. And the really cool thing about how I painted this is that I actually used glow-in-the-dark paint. All the green and the yellow and the red, glow-in-the-dark paint.
That's why it looks so amazing.
Yeah, and I had pictures of it on my Facebook. You might be able to dig into it and find it again. But the red paint, this is what shocked me. The red paint actually does glow red. I figured it'd all just be like the same green glowy color, but no, the red paint and the eyes actually glows red. So he stares at you with these kind of burning red eyes. And this is the brand it is. It's just regular folk art, glow in the dark paint.
Folk art paint, yeah.
Yeah, and this is $2.99, which is pretty expensive for craft paint, but the glow in the dark effect I thought was worth it. So
folk art is great. Some of those like Apple Barrel or whatever are crap, but folk
yeah,
art is always nice and pigmented.
yeah. Like to me, I kind of figure most of the stuff, if you primer it well and you do a good like top coat over it, like some kind of like I like to use the matte finish, because to me it looks a little more realistic, I guess. You know, when your character is like a glazed ham. Oh, well, thank you. I will take that as a very high compliment.
So, Alan, I have some surprises for you. Okay, first of all, this merman, for some reason, I associate him with Milton.
Okay.
Okay, but I don't know why. So
yeah, I'm not sure why either.
Something just happened that I did not know all these years. I've had this other figure in my case that I'm going to show in a minute, all these years, and I just happened to glance down and be like, oh my gosh. We'll get to that. But there is a very faint MA on the foot. So why don't you first, before I show the next figure, tell us what the significance is of the feet on our action figures.
Okay, so a lot of times, like, we would have the same action figure, and then we would fight over whose was which one. Like if you both have Luke Skywalker in Bespin fatigues, for example, and then you want to play with this figure, and the other one's like, no, wait, that's mine. Well, you both have one. How do you even tell them apart?
The eyes are slightly different. The nose is, the way it's painted on this part.
Mine has a little scuff on his left ring finger, and that's left ring finger, and that's how I know.
No, that was mine, Alan. Grandmama!
You just scraped it off on purpose. Figure. You just scraped it off on purpose because you're trying to pass that off as,
I did
as,
not,
as yours.
Grandmama.
Mine. My mom bought it for me when we went to Kmart to buy school clothes, and like, I was very well behaved on that trip.
No, Grandmama got that for me from the Blue Light Special.
So what our grandfather did was he had like a small handheld drill, like a Dremel. Might have actually been a Dremel, but I don't remember. And he would just kind of gently, with the smallest drill tip he had, just kind of gently scratch our names into the bottom of the feet. If you saw Toy Story and how Andy would write his name on the bottom of the foot, well, Granddaddy did that for us with his drill. So a lot of my old figures that I still have, like, I'll still see where it has Alan scratched in the bottom, or it has Amy scratched in the bottom because you gave it to me.
I want some of those back.
I've got them. I've got like the case, and I'm sure some of those figures are probably still yours, like I said.
Well, maybe just one that you don't want that much, that just has Granddaddy's engraving on the foot.
Well, I'll see what I can find.
Okay.
But yeah, so that was one of those things, one of those little things that you kind of remember like years later, and it just kind of puts that smile on your face. Oh, there's Mom's old antique.
Thank you. Like, now look, Alan, look what I just now discovered that I did not know all these years. I guess he's mine now. Just kidding. I'll trade him to you for one of my Star Wars figures. Wait, you have the same one in your hand? What?
That's not all. Here, check this out. I'm sure you might not even be in this box. I actually have two of these, and I don't remember buying a single one.
Okay, then you can trade me one that doesn't have your name on the bottom.
I'll be happy to.
Okay.
So this one is not in it. I'm surprised that one's in as good. He's got a little bit of paint rub on him, but not as bad as this one. This one, like, you can see, like all this silver is gone from the top of his head. Like, some kid loved this toy.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times when I find vintage toys like this, like, some people I'll see try to, repair them or anything like that. And, but to me, kind of, when I get like a vintage toy and it's got those kind of nicks and scratches and everything like that, that's kind of part of the history of the toy.
Yeah.
And it just kind of shows some kid loved this thing. You know, I
Mhm.
could imagine him like, you know, sticking it in his backpack and carrying it to school and sneaking it onto the playground and, you know, playing with the other figures that he brought. And it's like, you know, Ram Man might not have been his favorite character. Ram Man probably wasn't his favorite character, but he still, you know, loved him enough that he played with him this much. And
Right.
that now, granted, this silver paint is not the most robust paint. And anytime you have silver paint on an old toy, chances are that's going to be the first stuff to rub. You know, it's just the nature of the beast. Like GI Joe is infamous for having characters with silver Cobra emblems that like you could literally just take your fingernail, like when it was not now even, but I'm talking like even when it was brand new, you just kind of take your fingernail and scratch that thing off. Like the silver paint was that delicate.
Mhm.
And that's why one of the most rare GI Joe figures to find in perfect condition is the what do you call it? The Cobra Viper pilot, which first of all came with a toy that wasn't very popular because it was like a hang glider that was made out of the stuff like fast food containers were made out of at that time. That kind of really cheap styrofoam. It was a
Mhm.
very cheap toy that they sold for a very expensive price. So
Mhm.
it did not do very well. And it was basically just a regular Cobra Trooper, but instead of a red symbol, it had a silver symbol. And, you know, trying to find one of those that has the symbol completely intact, like you're going to have to buy one that's in the package. Like that's the only
Yeah.
way to do it. So, like, you look at those things, they're probably even scratched off in the package too. That silver paint is that bad.
So Zoe, his face is like inside the helmet. That's why I can see where you
Yeah.
thought he was headless. But and then to explain what Alan said about mom's old antique. So we had a couple doll houses in our playroom at Grandmama and Granddaddy's, and we had the littles, and not to be confused with the cartoon where they had tails. Okay.
No, it was a completely different thing.
Yeah, these were the littles. They looked almost like similar to little kittles, but their faces were completely different. And they had metal doll furniture, and they were so cute. And I still have a couple, and I love them, and I'll probably recollect them sometime. But we had Ram Man in the dollhouse, and we referred to him as Mom's old antique, like a suit of armor kind of man. And we had him as part of their decor in the little's house.
They would climb on it and, you know, ride it as it would go up and down kind of
Yeah, because it
thing. And
has a little lever on the back here, and then it makes them pop up, which really you're supposed to like boom, knock people down with it. But anyway, we had quite vivid imaginations.
well,
So
yeah, that's the kind of thing that you do when you're a kid. Is like that was another thing from the Toy Story movies that I really liked. Is you kind of repurpose other toys to fit what's not necessarily the purpose they were intended to. I mean, like
mhm.
it is in the sense that you're playing with a toy like a kid should, but it would be the sort of thing where like you know you have Mr. Potato Head and you're using him as, you know, the evil bank robber that Sheriff Woody has to stop kind of thing. You know, like I'd mix up my Star Wars toys with my GI Joes because they're the same scale, and like
Mhm.
the little Universal monster, the 3 3/4 inch figures of those I loved, but they only made the monsters. They didn't make any of the other characters. I guess they kind of figured like kids wouldn't be interested in the human characters, but I was because they were characters in the movie. So I'd use like Obi-Wan Kenobi to be Van Helsing, and like Princess Leia would be Dracula's victim and that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
that's just the sort of thing you do when you're a kid because you just like kind of look. What do we have that works the best? Oh, we'll use. I remember the original Han Solo figure. We thought he looked a lot like Ringo Starr.
Okay,
So
well, let's talk about that. But first, I want to say, remember the Weebles boat, and we made it into the sky skiff for Star
yeah,
Wars
yeah,
because we didn't have
yeah.
one. But okay, so tell me what was it like from your point of view when I started to grow up, because I'm like what 3 years older than you, and
Uh huh.
was becoming less interested in playing with toys and was all about the Beatles and the Monkees and the music. And I'm like, well, I'll play with you, Alan, but only if the Star Wars figures can be the Beatles and they're holding a concert at the
I was 100% okay with that.
Ewok.
I always
Okay.
thought that was I was cool with that. I'm like, yeah, let's do that. I didn't
Okay.
care. I liked playing with action figures, and I liked the Beatles too. So
Yeah.
it's not like I was like, ew, the Beatles, yuck. I was like, okay, yeah, let's do that. Let's I remember being like, well, we were going through them and being like, well, this one, this Luke Skywalker looks kind of like John Lennon, and this Luke Skywalker can kind of pass for Paul McCartney, and I guess this other Han Solo can be George because it doesn't look anything like Ringo Starr.
Yeah, that was fun. So,
Yeah.
and then I found these guys in
Oh,
my
Catra
yeah,
and
and
Hordak.
Hordak
Oh
with
yeah.
his
See, I don't have a
boots.
Catra. I don't know what happened to my Catra. I don't know what happened to a lot of my old toys. They just kind of vanished. But
Well,
I've got Hordak, and I've got the new version of Hordak.
and
And
then this guy that wasn't part of He-Man, but we kind of used him.
that was from Black Star.
Yeah.
So Black Star, for those of you out there who don't know, that was a cartoon that Filmation made before they made He-Man. And oh well, thank you.
You know who that is?
Yeah, that's Aunt Melanie.
Okay, okay. So you were just like, oh, thank you. I'm like,
So
did you read who she is? It's my freaking stepmother, Alan. Give her a better welcome than that. I'm just kidding.
I'm just trying to tell the story. I'm sorry. So where was I? Yeah, so Black Star was the cartoon that Filmation made before He-Man, and after He-Man came out, everybody was rushing to make their own kind of barbarian fantasy line, and I think it was LJN, I think it was, that bought the rights to Black Star, and they made figures that were kind of like knockoff He-Man figures, and it was the same proportions and everything from the waist up, but for whatever reason, the legs, instead of having the sort of like like, let me get a vintage one. Make sure I get a vintage one. Oh, hey, look, I have a merman with no arms too.
What? I guess we didn't really care much for him.
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of thought he was dumb. He was like kind of an idiot.
He didn't look like the figure on the back of the package. It disappointed me. I mean, I got over it, but I guess I didn't get 100% over it. You can see they have the kind of bent legs like that. Black Star figures had straight legs. And He-Man figures have these rubber bands that hold the legs together at the middle. And it allows you some posability, but it kind of springs back. But, it's enough posability for a kid. It's he fits in the vehicles. He sits in a chair. That's what most important. So, and then they had the thing where you kind of twist him, and if he had arms, he'd be punching.
Oh yeah, I love that. I love that.
But yeah, so Black Star had like the straight up and down legs, and it had rubber bands that were not as sturdy as these rubber bands. So like this is a toy that's like 40 years old, and he's still firm, and I still move this. Now a lot of figures, they get kind of loose over age, unfortunately. Like I have this was a very rare figure. This is one of the last lines that was produced of He-Man. This is Scareglow. I got him at a garage sale for 50 cents when nobody cared about He-Man. But I still remembered him, and I still cared about him. And I'm like, oh, cool. I never had this guy before. So he didn't come with any of his accessories, and he's supposed to have a cape, and he's supposed to have a halberd, which is like a long pole axe for anybody who doesn't know that. But yeah, he glows in the dark. He's really cool. And you can see his legs are starting to get kind of loosey-goosey. They do have kits to repair this where you can actually buy the rubber band. It looks like a little barbell. And with a little bit of work, you can switch out the rubber band in the middle, which I haven't actually tried to do yet. But I hear it's a tricky thing to do. But once you get the hang of it, you get the hang of it. But anyway, Black Star, my point that I was getting at, was the rubber bands on those were nowhere near as strong. And while I have some of these that are like 40 years old and they're still holding together, Black Star, the day I bought him, his legs fell off.
Oh, God.
Yeah, and my mom was angry. She was angry. And she took him back to the store to get it replaced because it was a cheap piece of garbage. And let me pick out another toy because, my toy that she bought me broke. And I'm like, can I get another Black Star figure? And she's like, no. Why would you want another one? I'm not going through this again. It's like I swear the rubber bands were like the kind of rubber bands you'd buy at like the store, like
Yeah.
in the stationery aisle. Like I don't know how they expected those things to hold together. I always joke nowadays when I see a Black Star figure, oh yeah, it's Black Star with leg fall off action. It's so I wound up getting a He-Man color form set. I
Oh,
probably had
color
I
forms.
probably had a lot more fun with that than I would have with that stupid cheap Black Star action figure with no legs.
Well, I feel like they ended up in the blue light specials at Kmart. So
Yeah, yeah. So I did later on get some more Black Star toys that I guess mom would have got them when they were on clearance or something, and used them as stocking stuffers or whatever. Uh, but even then, she made I don't know if it was a conscious decision. She got the ones where they were like that one where it was like the solid figurines,
yeah,
like that one in I forget what they called them, like the Trobits or something.
I feel like he came with a action figure though, like he was like the
Yeah,
pet or
they would have
something.
them packed in with the other characters, but they
Yeah.
sold them by themselves too. But those were like the little bad guy goblin things. I don't remember what they were called. I'm pretty sure that the good guy ones were called Trobits, and they basically like not quite a troll, not quite a hobbit, I guess.
Hmm.
But they had pink skin and white hair, and they had like usually wore like I think like a lavender sort of jerkin
They
over
sound
like
cool. I'm gonna Google
orange
some of
tights.
these guys because I might want them.
Oh, Munster's color forms. I would have liked to have had those. I don't think I ever saw them. I had Batman, which was the same set that I think they sold from like the 60s, because I know they sold it in the 60s, like all through like the 70s into the 80s. I don't think they updated the Batman color form set until 1989 when the Batman movie came out, and even then they kind of updated it to like a mid 80s Batman. So I'm like, what's even the point? But I love that Batman set in particular because you could move the arms on the characters, like the arms and the legs were separate, so you could pose them in different ways,
Oh
and I thought that
yeah.
was really cool. Most color forms, it just kind of had this figure as like a static figure, and maybe you could stick weapons onto it or something like that.
Hmm.
But these you could actually move them around. That one was called like I think the Batman cartoon set, and
Hmm.
I really liked that one. And of course, it had Robin, and it had the Joker and the Penguin. And I think the Penguin was the one where like you couldn't move his legs, just his arms, and that was kind of disappointing to me. But whatever.
If
He's
our
got colors.
family, you're a
Well,
little older than we think.
I
Well,
wasn't
I
giving much
mean,
thought to it.
I mean, I've only got one more year left in my 40s, so
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, I'm
Um,
edging
first,
closer to it.
yeah. First, Diane, I want to say I'm so happy to hear that your grandson has gone into recovery, into a facility. So hopefully that will help him. And we've been keeping you guys in our prayers. Um, if our family knew back then that the toys they were buying for us were going to make such an impact on our lives, they would have felt, I don't know, like how could grandmama have ever known that we would still be coveting these toys now, you know?
I still think about sometimes how like I'd be over there and just be bored about something. And she's like, "Well, I had this thing that I was saving for a special occasion, but I guess you can have it now."
Yeah.
And I'm like, I know what special occasion you were saving it for. You were saving it for like the special occasion when I say I'm bored, want something to do.
Yeah. Yeah, she would buy toys and put them up in top of the closet. And even like I remember when they both passed within, a few weeks of each other, but I was helping to, clean out their room, which was off limits to us as kids. Off
Mhm.
limits. We were never allowed to go in there unless we really had to go to the bathroom and the other bathroom was being used, then we would be escorted in there. But it was like the taboo room that we are not allowed to be in. And I always thought it was because she kept the toys up in the top of the closet and she didn't want us to see them. But I found out later as an adult, it was because they had, for protection, they had a gun in there.
Mm.
And anyway, but when I was cleaning out the closet, there was a part of me that was hoping I was going to find some toys in the top of that closet that just she forgot about, but there weren't any. And I was like, gosh darn it, I wanted to find some treasure toys.
We must have worked through her whole supply.
Yeah. But anyway, I have some fun stuff I want to bring up on the screen.
Okay.
So let's see. Do this properly. All right, so I have some childhood photos to bring up. Here we go.
Oh yeah. It's amazing how I still have the same haircut as in that.
Let me go back. I know, right?
Yeah, that's it's a look that works for me. I gotta say that.
I thought that was funny too when I put it in my stories. I was like, "Hey, it's the same look." and this is Alan's mom, my Aunt Ruby, and of course this is little me. Yeah. And Aunt Ruby has these cool octagon glasses.
They're kind of John Lennon-ish.
Mm-hmm. Michelle says that she put toys up for her grandchildren the same way. Aww. That's so special. I know you're going to miss him, Diane, but you know that it is where he needs to be to get help. So he will be well taken care of there. And Aunt June was the photographer. She was, that was her major in college. So she did so many amazing black and white photos of us as kids. We were so lucky. So here's Alan and I fooling around. It looks like I have Snoopy on my shirt and a fireman outfit.
That's what it looks like to me.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But yeah, like this was actually when I first signed on to Facebook. This was the only picture I had of myself handy.
So oh, really?
I used for my first profile picture. And I literally put on there, this is the most recent photograph of myself that I have.
I don't remember. That was funny.
Yeah. So I got like a more current picture of me like a little bit later. But when I was first signed on to it, I'm like, well, this is it. This is what I got. So
that's so funny. So Liz, it's Alan's mom and my dad were the siblings.
Yeah.
So yeah, this was all these pictures were taken at Grandmom and Granddaddy's house. This was in the front yard. The other one I think was in the backyard.
I'm guessing the one in the background was that old big green car. Ah, yeah. See, there I am, just being like just the biggest comic book fan and He-Man fan already at that point. You can see that life-size toy power sword, and I don't know why I'm holding the shield in that way because it does not seem like it would be effective.
Well, you know, you're just like,
yeah,
you're about to flip it outward, I think.
Spazzing out. You can't see it very well, but the gun that Amy's holding there is actually like a blaster that came from Radio Shack. It wasn't any kind of like specific character weapon, but it was a really cool ray gun with like the barrel was clear and lit up with like little red lights in it, and it was really awesome. And unfortunately the barrel broke off at some point, but I still had fun playing with it. It was, if it wasn't my favorite,
red tip right above your head.
Yeah. If it wasn't my favorite laser gun that I had when I was a kid, it probably would have been a close second to the Han Solo blaster from Star Wars. If you look down towards, I can't point at it at this angle, but down towards my midsection, and you see that blue thing sticking out on either side. That is my He-Man Hot Wheels. What do they call those things? Not Hot Wheels.
Big Wheel.
Big Wheel. Yeah, my He-Man Big Wheel, which I believe was called the Mighty Cycle. I think was what they called it, and it was really cool. And it even had like little hand guards on the handlebars, so it looked kind of like the battle ram, like how you would grip the battle ram, which was my favorite He-Man vehicle. I'm wearing my Green Lantern Underoos shirt, which is getting way too small for me at that time.
And I wasn't allowed to wear my Underoos shirts because they looked like lingerie, and it was
that was not fair.
It was really annoying.
They fixed that towards the end.
Yeah, but then the shirts were so thin that they weren't appropriate because your freaking lady parts poked through.
Yeah,
it was like see-through. So I still wasn't allowed to wear them.
Yeah, so that's unfortunate. So,
but I think this picture was taken at your house, and these were some neighborhood kids. Do you remember these kids?
Yeah, that was my 8th birthday party. Those were neighbor kids that I was friends with. Mm-hmm. I believe the older brother, that was the one that I was really friends with. I believe his name was Sean. It's been so long since I've
And the
seen
little
them.
kid looks like he's wearing a members only jacket.
Yeah.
He was cool.
Yeah, that was a very popular club at the time. Looked like Michael Knight. He was really proud of that sarcophagus he's holding.
Oh
He's gonna show
man,
that off.
I love it.
But yeah, that would have been my 8th birthday party, and not long after my sisters had been born, because they were born on March 9th, and I was born on the 26th. So yeah, that would have been the first birthday party they were ever at. And there's me looking all surly, and is that Trent?
Yeah, Trent was the son of Uncle Lloyd's wife at the time, and he was kind of a troublemaker. He wasn't
Yeah.
the most well behaved. He was a lot of fun. He was like the life of the party, but he was always doing things that we weren't allowed to do and talking about things we weren't allowed to talk about and trying to watch things we weren't allowed to watch.
He was that kid.
So he was that kid that it was like a little bit exciting, but at the same time, we don't want to get in trouble kind of kid. And then next to him is Milton, who is the owner of this merman that we mentioned earlier, Milton, who is our Uncle Lloyd's son, who is my dad's brother. And Milton was our cousin.
He was.
We didn't see as often as like Alan and I were always there. But when he did come, he was a lot of fun, and he was kind of the cousin that did things we weren't allowed to do, but not to the level Trent was.
My earliest memory of Milton is actually at one of your birthday parties, and that was the one where you had that Batman wading pool.
Oh yes.
And
all that story.
We were playing around in the Batman wading pool, and I remember seeing Milton walking over with this giant dirt clod. The thing must have been like as big as him. Like if you look at the way, like literally, imagine like a 3-year-old holding a giant clod of dirt. This same proportions, might have even been the same size. He and like he was the Incredible Hulk or something. Lifts this thing above his head and throws it into the wading pool that me and Amy were playing in. The biggest smile on his face. He must have been like maybe 2 years old at the time, so I don't think it was like malicious or anything. He was just having fun. Just, hey, look what I found.
Yeah, God bless him. God bless you, Milton. We love you.
Yeah,
he's a good guy.
That was fun. We had to get out of the pool. They had to clean out the pool and refill the pool. And thanks a lot, Milton.
Oh my God!
Even
and then there I am.
Understand
the tallest. Sarcasm. Yeah, the tallest in the background, and my nanny, as in a grandmother nanny, she liked to slick my hair back as tight as she could into ponytails and shellac it with hairspray and put little barrettes. And it was not a good look, but that's what she did. God bless her. And that was me with that awkward stage. And then my sister Ivy is in front of me.
Yep.
We had different dads, and Milton's little brother in front of him with different dads. So I can't remember, what is Milton's little brother's name?
I don't remember either.
Aunt June might know. Aunt June.
Yeah.
Yes, Aunt June's getting the family tree organized for everyone. So anyway, Ivy is my little sister, where I don't consider her having a separate father. Like, I'm just saying it for the sake of explaining the family tree. My sisters are my sisters, just like Alan's sisters are his sisters. We don't think about halves and all of that crap. But anyway, let's see what we have next. Here we are, the epic Luke Skywalker yellow wig.
Where's the ray gun?
It's in my hand.
Yeah, there it is. That was over at your mom's house. I remember that. No, wait.
Yeah.
Was that over your mom's house?
Well, it was a place Nanny, really. It was Nanny's place.
Okay.
Where we lived, but yeah.
Okay. And that was that old lightsaber that would make that noise when you move it back and forth.
That wind, the way it would go in. That was pretty incredible, the way they came up with that.
Yeah. I see these kids these days with their fancy lightsabers that light up and make electronic sounds, and it'll actually like extend like a real lightsaber, and I'm just like, you spoiled.
Yeah.
I had a tube that whistled.
Yeah.
But I loved it. I loved that.
Well,
My mom made those costumes.
yeah. I was about to say that Aunt Ruby handmade our costumes. They were so incredible. And she made an
Mhm.
Ewok costume for my little sister Ivy that is still floating around somewhere in storage. It's so amazing with the
Mhm.
faux fur. But Alan insisted that Luke Skywalker had blonde hair and he had to have this faux fur blonde hair wig that I thought was ridiculous, but he insisted on it.
It looks good in this shot, though. The thing about that wig is, I think it was supposed to be like for a clown or something, and
Yeah. Well, it
like
looks it.
yeah,
I'm just
if
kidding.
if you brushed it and got it just right, it kind of looked like his hair in the movie for
Yeah.
like 2 seconds until you moved, and then it would just all of a sudden poof back out again. It was like Homer Simpson shaving, where like he'd shave and turn around to the mirror, and all of a sudden the stubble is like, boom, it's right back. That was how that wig worked. But I go for accuracy. I needed to have the right hair color, and that
That's
was
right.
that was the best solution we could find. They don't really make realistic toupees for 8-year-olds.
Yeah. Right. Ah,
So yeah.
uh,
So,
okay.
but the costume was great. And there's my
So
3D printer.
let's talk about this.
Oh yeah, that's my new toy. Like my toys just get more expensive. So well, let's talk about some of the stuff in the background. These are these cheap 12-inch figures that I really like. Marvel calls them Titan series. I forget what the DC ones are called, but they're just kind of 12-inch action figures you can buy for $10. And I've actually got Green Goblin right here. So
Oh, I
Spider-Man's
love
arch
them.
enemy, Willem Dafoe.
Hmm.
Uh, but yeah, you can get those for like $10. So I've got like a huge collection of those, and I've got kind of like this ridge all around my bedroom wall, and I just put all these 12-inch figures there. So and then there's a little Spider-Man playset that's there that I got at the Goodwill for like $3 or something like that, and a whole tangled bunch of wires and random stuff, just because I just kind of put the thing on the table and took a picture of it because I'm like, here's my new baby, and I've been having a lot of fun with it. I'll show you some of the stuff I printed because I actually have some handy. Which this is a Christopher Reeve Superman head that I printed out, and it
Okay,
turned out
wait a second because we can't see it up close yet. Wait till we get done with the video because you're
okay.
tiny on the screen.
Yeah, I guess you're right. So like the 3D printer is really cool, and there's something that I printed out, which that is a scaled up version of the backpack that originally came with Firefly from G.I. Joe. And I was able to put it on that Fortnite figure that I kind of use as my Firefly because I actually didn't like the classified Firefly that much, but I found this figure that is pretty much the same size, and I'm like, you know what, that's close enough. I'm going to use that as Firefly. But his backpack is so iconic. With you can see the toolbox actually opens up there, and he's a saboteur. So he's got all these like plastic explosives and little sticks of dynamite and little timers and the ratchet set and the hammer and pliers. The pliers did not come out right, so I'm trying to fix those. But it's still really cool how you can go online. Like I found this on a website called Thingiverse, I think it's called, and you can find various 3D printed files already that are already made and print out a lot of this kind of stuff, which is really cool. So yeah, they somebody had scaled it up and made it so it would fit on GI Joe classified figures, and I'm like, that's what my Firefly is missing. I've got to have that. So yeah, that's the story of that. I haven't painted it yet or sanded it or anything. So
Okay, I've got one more slide that does show those heads, so let's pull that up and
okay.
then maybe you can explain to us
Okay.
how this 3D printer works.
So basically, the easiest way I can think of to explain a 3D printer for anybody who doesn't understand it is there's two different kinds, and I have the kind that uses filament. There's also a kind that uses resin, but I don't have that one, so I don't know a whole lot about that. I'm still just learning about this one that I have. But it's basically a fancy hot glue gun that's on a gantry that moves it up and down and left and right, and then it actually prints it onto a printing bed that moves back and forth this way. So it can move in whatever dimensions it needs to move to print your stuff. Dang it. I needed that, and now it's in the floor. It probably went under my couch. I can't find it. No, wait, there it is. I knocked this in the floor. I'll get to this in a minute. But yeah, so it'll make, in, if you look at it and you can see the texture of it, it almost looks like grooves on a record, and that's because it prints it out in layers. Like every single groove that you see, you can kind of see the sheen of it even as I tilt it. It's like a different layer, like a tiny little layer that it prints it out at. And this is the little frame it was on when it was printing. It'll print you out like a little, support to hold it up and everything. And there's other little parts that were like supporting it on the back and the front that I kind of broke off already. But I kept this because it let me kind of sit it up straight like that. But yeah, so it'll go around and it'll print out your whatever it is you're printing. And that's how that works, basically. So this is another file that I got off of Thingiverse. And for those of you who don't recognize this gentleman, that is Christopher Reeve as Superman. So somebody actually made a Christopher Reeve Superman head. I might still even have the small one around here somewhere. And the first one that he made was intended to be used on one of these Todd McFarlane figures, like the Batman that I pointed at earlier. So it's like a 7-inch figure. So I had the idea to try to put it on a 12-inch figure, and you can actually resize the stuff in the slicing program. It's called a slicing program because, like I said, it's in various slices. So it'll take your 3D model and cut it into those slices, and you can use that to kind of resize it a little bit too. Like, so I decided, since it's like for a 7-inch head and I want it to be for a 12-inch figure, I'll bump it up to a larger size. And at first I decided, because I don't know exactly what proportion to blow it up to, I just went with 180 because I knew it was like, it should be like smaller than 200%. So let's figure that out. But it still came out a little too big. So then I made the one in the middle, which I made a little smaller. And I like I was pretty happy with it at first, but when I held it next to an actual 12-inch head, now I think I made it a little too small. So I'm going to try to print him one more time and do it a little bigger. And hopefully I can hit that Goldilocks zone in between the slightly too small head and the too big head. And, but a lot of that kind of stuff is trial and error. I suppose if I wanted to do math or something like that, I could probably figure it out. But math ain't never been my strong suit. So
Me either.
Yeah. So, and see, here's like some weapons that I printed out. That is actually a Viper rifle. So that's a bad guy rifle that he's holding there. You can see it's even got the Cobra emblem etched into the stock. So that was a really cool weapon. That was one of the ones that I thought was one of the better ones. I just had him just to model. He wouldn't actually be holding that because he's a good guy, and that's a bad guy weapon. But I guess maybe he, beat up one of the bad guys and took his weapon, I guess. But whatever. I just kind of wanted to show off the weapon and how it fit in the character's hand. So, yeah, I could make all kinds of heads. I'm really excited about this. This is going to be a real game changer for me. So, a lot of the times I would have to just try to like resculpt a head to look like some kind of character I would want, or, try to find I'd have to buy an entire action figure sometimes just to get a head that I wanted. But now I don't have to do that anymore. I can just print one out. I just got to, figure out the whole size thing.
Yeah, that 3D printer is great for what Alan does, but for what I do, I'm planning on taking it in a different direction, and that is sculpting my own kind of basic head and then creating a mold and casting those heads in resin so then I can hand paint each one and root the hair and all that fun stuff. Cole and I are both going to be moving into that. But let's see what else I have here. I think I have some family photos that didn't quite fit in the other.
That's one of my favorite pictures of the two of us together.
Yes.
And in fact,
and it says Olin Mills. It's an Olin Mills photo.
There's one of those from that same set that I like even better. But
where you're standing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You actually look a lot like my niece there, which is weird because you're not related to my niece. That's from my dad's side of the family.
Aw.
but but yeah, if you see my niece Lydia, it kind of reminds me there of that picture you might see of her. But
Well, I have a little game I want to play with you before we get into our core values talk. So
okay,
I'm going to pull the game up. Alan and I used to love to watch. Well, it started off as we loved just watching the movies. We love movies. So whatever movies came on, we watched them, and some of them were really bad, and so we found them hilarious.
yeah.
And then as we got
Casper
older,
the Friendly Eagle.
we would seek these types of movies out, so we could make fun of them. But this is going to be, name that movie. So wait. No, too late. Shoot. Okay. Well, anyway.
That's Lenny.
Yes, this is Lenny.
Yeah.
From
Gunan, who apparently in Italy was known as Il Guerrero, which I'm guessing means the warrior. I don't know how to speak Italian, but I'm guessing that's what it means. And that would be the land of far away.
Dang it, you already knew. You got it. Because if you didn't,
it's Mio. It was all wrong.
If you didn't get it, then you would have a second clue.
There's that creepy head. That thing just creeped the hell out of me.
So Mio hangs onto his beard and flies to the land of far away, and it's just a head.
Yeah. It is like for whatever, I guess they thought that'd be like charming or whatever, but I just found it really creepy, that head.
Yeah.
But
yes. So this is one of our favorite bad movies, The Land of Far Away.
I remember for your birthday one year, and it would have been like after you graduated from high school.
Yeah, it was my 18th birthday.
Yeah, I got you. I just had a piece of bread that I put in a baggie and put like a little label on it that said "bread to satisfy all hunger."
Hunger.
Yeah, hunger. Yeah, and like you were just laughing hysterically at it, and everybody else was just like, "What's going on here? What's the?" I don't. Nobody got it but us, but we thought it was hilarious.
Yeah. Bread.
This one I don't remember.
Okay, here's the song. Hi, cockalorum. Hi, cockalorum.
Oh wow. No, I'm not. I'm not on this. I'm sorry.
Yay! I stumped you.
This. Yeah,
I stumped you. Okay, yeah. Here we go.
Yeah, this one. Water Babies. Okay, yeah, I kind of vaguely remember Water Babies now because like
it was like really bad live action.
Yeah.
And then they fall into the water to get away from some sinister person, and then they turn into cartoons.
Mm-hmm.
And they're called the Water Babies.
That would have been pre Roger Rabbit times. So
oh yeah,
I think anytime you would see cartoons interacting with live action, there was a lot of novelty to it. There's Ator the Fighting Eagle.
Yes.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites. That's how much Keith does this movie have? Miles O'Keefe. Yeah, he I think his most famous role was he played Tarzan in my mom's favorite movie, the Bo Derek version of Tarzan, the Ape Man, which I say that completely sarcastically. If she watches this video later, she's going to be so mad that I said that was her favorite movie. She hated that movie so much.
Well, we could sit here and talk all day, but I do have to take my husband for a pre-op appointment today for his cataract surgery. Yes, we actually are planning on going through with it this time. So that's going to be next week, but we have to go to the pre-op today. So let's talk about core values, and we'll have to also have you back on the show again. So once you have your collection more in order, we can show that. And of course, you guys should subscribe to Alan's YouTube channel, Alan Belk. The link is here in the video.
Real quick before we get into that, I had promised to show what I was doing with that Skeletor figure.
Oh, yeah.
And this is another head, and this weapon I printed out with the 3D printer. And this is actually, when it's finished, the head's mostly finished and the axe is coming along. And I'm probably going to do something different with the body. But this is based on the artwork of the very famous fantasy art painter Frank Frazetta. This is his Death Dealer character. And I even painted in his eyeballs with like that red glow in the dark paint that I was talking about earlier.
Oh, wow.
So I think he's going to turn out really cool. So you guys get a sneak preview of that. And if you are now subscribed to my channel, I'll probably do a video about this once it's finished, whenever it's finished. I don't know exactly when, but I'm going to have to sew some stuff. Cone heads. Oh man, that's something we have to talk about. But but yeah, I was terrified by that shirt. but yeah, Aunt June used to have a Coneheads shirt that Coneheads from Saturday Night Live, and for whatever reason they just terrified me.
Well, listen, Aunt June was the hip aunt who brought exposed us to all kinds of amazing and sometimes terrifying things. I remember that she had me watching Night Gallery for some reason, and I remember getting so terrified and screaming. I remember running into Grandmama's room, and I think I threw up from something I'd seen on Night Gallery.
Well, she I'm pretty sure still is a big fan of Rod Serling and the Twilight Zone, and so she was really into that show. So I remember when we found the video cassettes of it at Blockbuster, and she's like, "Oh, it's Night Gallery. We have to rent this." And
I'm like, "No!" And then there was, she raised me on the Beatles, and I am who I am in so many ways because of Aunt June and her influence. But there were things that were, I wasn't ready for, like the 45 picture sleeve for Queen's "We Are the Champions, We Will Rock You," and it had some kind of horrifying to me as a child glowing face thing on it, and I'm like, "No, get that away from me! I can't see it."
They did like a whole bit on Family Guy about the News of the World album cover. Oh, thank you. I now have another subscriber. Hello, thank you. I hope you enjoy it. But the News of the World album cover with like the robot on it that kills Freddie Mercury.
Yeah, that's the one.
Twilight Zone is like one of the greatest shows of all time. Maybe the greatest show of all time. Like I still have childhood memories of like the first time I saw like the one with Burgess Meredith and the Atomic War, where he has to, he never has time enough to read. And of course, when he finally has time enough at last, that's when his glasses fall off and break. But yeah, so it's got the robot on it that kills Queen, and Stewie's all like terrified of it. And that was
apparently that's why I was scared. I never knew that it was a robot that killed Queen. So yeah, I had a good instinct.
But when I was watching it, it just made me think of Aunt June's Conehead shirt. And
well, there you go.
It terrified me. So I'm like, I could really relate to that episode. Like, I'm not even like a huge Family Guy fan, but when they have an episode that it's good, it's really good. So, but yeah, it's like there's a whole running gag through the episode with the News of the World album cover. And Queen's like one of my favorite bands. That was one that like "We Will Rock You" was one of the first songs I remember being like really into.
Mm-hmm.
And
it was amazing.
Yeah. So,
but I didn't want to see the picture.
Yeah. But so yeah, like we're getting off track. You want to?
Yeah, let's talk about core values.
Values.
And let me know what a core value or core values that are important to you and how you implement them in your life.
Well, it's not something that I've actually given a whole lot of conscious thought to. It's just kind of something that's always been instinctual to me. Like, but I think that being as raised as I was with like superhero type characters and characters like Luke Skywalker and Superman and He-Man and like Batman, all these characters, like they have like this kind of integrity like you don't really see in real life as often as you probably should. So I think that was kind of what developed a lot of my core values. And like I guess I'd have to just borrow the phrase from Superman. It's like truth, justice, and the American way. It's like, and when I say the American way, I don't mean like the American government. I mean what this country should be. you know, where we should be inclusive and accepting, and we're all brothers and sisters. I don't care where you're from. I don't care what your skin color is. I don't care what your religion is. I don't care about your political beliefs. Like, we're all part of this human race, and we should treat each other with kindness and respect, and, you know, just try to be accepting of, not just accepting, celebrate our differences, because it's kind of what makes us special and unique. And, you know, like, I might be into something that you're not really into, but like, I would appreciate your passion is the thing, you know, like, I kind of feel like the more that we take an interest in other people and what they're about, the more you get to know somebody. A lot of the times, the more you realize that you have some common ground. And I kind of wish, especially these days, that people would look more at the common ground that we all have, and less at the things that divide us. Like, I kind of feel like, I don't want to get like too heavy about stuff, but I kind of feel like if we would just focus on the things that you know, bring us together, then that would be the best thing. So I don't know. So
Right.
But yeah, if I had to say, like my core values would be to treat people with kindness and respect, and with fairness. And that's,
this is bad timing, but I just realized somehow
I tried to live my life. What
my
happened?
my cord came unplugged from that little brick, and all of a sudden my battery was about to die, and I'm like, no.
Oh no, we can't let that happen.
Yeah, so I love that, Ellen. That's beautiful.
I'm sorry. If you have Aunt June, if you have an account on YouTube, you can just look up my name, and like I said, that's the name of my channel, and you should be able to find it. Or when I post one of my videos, well, thank you, Zoe. I like to think so. You go down to the little subscribe button underneath the video and click on it, and I'm sure, like, if you can't find it, somebody can show you where it is. But yeah, next
I'll
time
send you the link, Aunt June. The link is here in the video description. So right next to the title of the video is a little V shape, and you click that, and it drops down, and you can follow Alan on Instagram, and you can subscribe to his channel. The links are there.
Yeah.
Okay, well, before we go, I have a couple gifts for you.
Oh.
The first one I had mentioned to you, but you haven't seen it yet. I got this for you at the Epic Estate sale that I went to last summer in Ontario, California. So I'm going to need to have a full screen for this.
Okay.
Here we go. Okay.
Oh, that's beautiful. Okay, so I'm gonna talk a little bit about this piece, and what exactly it is. Oh, and that's cool too. Oh man, I have no idea how I'm going to display this now, because it's got two sides to it.
Well, you can cut it, and then you can frame it or whatever.
Cut it? Oh, look, it says super villains on there. Okay, so we got, hold it back up again. I got to tell it.
Okay, you want villains first?
Yeah, okay. I mean, we're already on this side. So, guy in the green and orange, that's Mirror Master. Next to him is Poison Ivy, the Penguin, the Trickster, Captain Boomerang, the Reverse Flash, the Pied Piper, Heat Wave, Catwoman, the Joker, and Captain Cold. And there are a lot of Flash villains on there, because the Flash had a lot of really cool villains. Most of those characters are Flash villains. And if they're not a Flash villain, they're a Batman villain. There's no Superman villains, there's no Wonder Woman villains, there's no Green Lantern villains. It's all Batman villains and Flash villains. But they are the ones that have like the best rogues gallery, so that's probably why. I would guess the artist on that is Murphy Anderson. And maybe Carmine Infantino with Murphy Anderson inks. That would be my guess. And that's probably my favorite Catwoman costume also.
It is 1976 National Periodical Publications.
That's what DC Comics was called before it was called DC Comics.
Okay.
Now, ever since the 1940s, they had what they call the DC Bullet on their advertisement, which in the 1940s would have said Superman, and then had DC in the middle. And by the 1970s, it was just kind of a circle that said DC on it, which would have been around this era. And then they came up with like the one I remember from the 80s, where it was the circle, but it had like this thick ring around it with 4 stars. Anyway, so this side looks to me like Alex Toth, or somebody trying really hard to copy Alex Toth. Alex Toth would have been the one who would have drawn the original image. And you've got the Flash, Wonder Dog, Aquaman, Robin, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, Hawkman, and then Wendy and Marvin. Now, the original picture did not have Flash, Green Lantern, and Hawkman. They added it to it for this pillowcase. So, but yeah, it looks like if it's not Alex Toth himself doing the art, it's somebody trying to make it look like Alex Toth drew it. He definitely drew the original picture. But that one also has where, I guess for whatever reason, DC thought that he didn't do a good enough job drawing Superman's face. So this is really awful. In the original piece that was a comic book cover, somebody at DC editorial, since they didn't like the way he drew Superman's face, actually cut the Superman face out of the original artwork and threw it away, and pasted in a Xerox of a picture Kurt Swan had drawn. So that artwork is defaced for all time. The original piece, the original drawing still exists, but it's got this hole cut out in the middle and this Xerox pasted into it.
I love that. Well,
yeah,
I have one more gift for you.
I'm really excited about that pillowcase.
Yay, I'm glad. I was excited to find it for you. All right, so up next is my special cone doll for you, but I made this more as a display cone for...
Okay.
Yeah, so it's removable. But
okay. Oh my God. That is beautiful.
So now he's very well loved, but I did touch up his emblem because it was just gone. And the emblem, you might think that looks kind of crappy, but that's how it really looked on this piece.
That's how they drew it.
It was a weird looking bat, but I touched that up, but I left it mostly
I love it.
Well loved. And then I touched up his cowl because he had some wear and I just wanted to. So anyway, but he is removable. I just have, some wire in him, but you can take him right off and play with him if you want.
That's amazing. I love it.
Yeah, and so he is 1966, again, National Periodicals.
Yep, that was back when the TV show was like the biggest thing, and they just had so much Batman merchandise. See, the reason his emblem is off model is because back then they didn't really have style guides like they have now. Like now, if you want to do Batman merchandise, they have all of this pre-approved artwork that you can choose from. But back then, a lot of the times, the toy companies were on their own. So that was probably drawn by somebody in-house at Ideal. That was who made that. And they probably just, drew a picture, probably looked at a comic book and said, okay, this is what Batman looks like, and drew it up real quick. And, and even at the time in the comic books, that particular emblem with the circle around it, it wasn't really that established yet. It'd only been around for like a couple of years. Like if you look at it now, the way they draw it is like, the wings kind of conform to the edges of the oval, and it looks all like, somebody drew it with like a ruler and a T-square and, one of those French curve kind of things so they could get every line just so. But I guarantee you this guy was just like circle, there's a bat. Okay, that looks like Batman. So, but yeah, and you can tell that they, a lot of that stuff didn't have the likeness rights for the actors on the television show, but you can see that that's Adam West.
Yeah.
They just sculpted it like Adam West. It even got the wrinkles and the cowl, like the way that the fabric kind of wrinkled up on the show somewhat. Yeah. And it's, I guess they got away with it because they painted it like in the plain blue, like the comic book, without like the black shape on the front and the funky eyebrows like he had. But yeah, that's Adam West right there. Yeah. So I'm really touched. I'm looking forward to having that, and that one's I'm gonna have to move some stuff around, but that one's gonna take a place of honor up there.
Yay.
So that'll be in all my videos going forward. So
Yay.
how could I not? You know,
Oh.
it's like,
Well, Alan, thank you so much for being on my show today. And I know that eventually you and I are wanting to collab and do our own show together, even if it's just a once a month thing. But we want to do some kind of show together because it's something we've always wanted to do. So we're working
we'll
towards
figure
that.
out something.
Yeah.
So,
But in the meantime, subscribe to Alan's channel, Alan Belk, Allen. It's the link is right here in the video description. And we appreciate your support in that way. Give my video a thumbs up. And if you're watching on the replay, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We greatly appreciate your support. And anyway, Alan, I look forward to seeing what else you're going to be making with your new 3D printer. And yeah, have a wonderful week.
well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in to the live. And I look forward to seeing you all again next week. And then, of course, coming up this week, I have a full schedule. Wednesday is Wicked Good Vintage. It will be on my channel this week. Sarah is taking the day off to go to a concert with her hubby. So Enamour Amy is stepping in as my guest co-host. And then we are having a quad sale with Cole from Kitschy Flower and Stacy from Kawaii Kitschy Butterfly. And that all happens at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern, right here on YouTube. And then on Thursday, I will be over on Instagram with Stephanie from Crazy for Kitsch for our monthly sale. That will happen at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. And then on Friday, it's doll inclusive at a new time that hopefully will be more convenient for most of our viewers. And that is going to happen at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. We are going to focus on just crafting. We're doing away with our little mini sale. It was something I added just to kind of give Cole an outlet until he started branching out and doing his own live sales. So we will still auction off our creation as usual, but we will not be doing the added mini sale at the end. So be sure to tune in. It will be over on Cole's channel this week at Kitschy Flower. So be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. And then on Friday, no, sorry, that's Saturday. Then on Saturday, I will be back over on Instagram with David from Junk Drunk Mantiques for our first live sale together, exclusively together, without anyone else. It'll just be me and David. So it's going to be so fun. And that happens at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. So be sure to tune in. And until then, I look forward to seeing you guys. And yeah, I don't know what I'm saying, but have a great week. Alan, thank you. And I love you. And I will see you again soon.
Well, thank you again for
Bye.
having me.
Of course.